Government schools are failing our children. Your kids deserve a better education than a $15,000 Zoom call.
It's your taxes, your children, and it should be your choice.
Welcome to VCC Liberty Lounge. I'm Donna.
I'm Jimmy.
And we're here today with special guest Melanie Turner, who will be talking with us about educational issues in Virginia. But first, Jimmy has a message for you all.
And from the last episode, we talked about the special session, Governor Northam bringing in his gun ban, but thanks to y'all putting on the pressure on the politicians and calling them senators, sending them emails, we have not seen any legislation pushed through the General Assembly. And we also asked you to call about House Bill 5030, which would have allowed the government to remove monuments from cemeteries on private property. But that bill was withdrawn and rewritten to public property only, thanks to your phone calls. So we appreciate you, putting the pressure on politicians and making them phone calls.
Excellent. Thanks so much for the update, Jimmy. And thank you again for keeping that pressure on, like Jimmy said. Okay, so as we know, Virginians are facing a lot of challenges these days. And another challenge, again, like I said earlier, we're here to talk about is what it means in terms of educational options currently available for parents. And so Melanie Turner is one of our VCC team members and is very familiar with the topic of school choice and the education issues that we're facing here in Virginia. And so with that, we welcome Melanie and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And so Melanie, what we're wondering is when you think about school choice in Virginia, what is really top of mind for you right now?
When I think of what school choice is, I think there is a huge misconception by the public about what we believe school choice is. School choice options are typically traditional public government schools. So you have your online academies, you have your choice of public government schools, your charter schools. In some areas, you're also going to have homeschools available. This is actually not really an accurate depiction of what the public's perception is of school choice. They're actually thinking more along the lines of a voucher program. And your voucher program is more in line with giving you a tax credit so that you can use those funds in your own choice and what kind of educational option you want to provide to your children.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that overview. And so when we think of real school choice then, we're talking about how parents can use their tax dollars for their children and enrolling them in schools and educational institutions that align best for their kids. Mm-hmm. As we know, it's not a one size fits all. So what really are the various options that parents need to consider?
Well, there's many options that I think parents can consider as far as what is available and what has been tried and true with voucher programs across the nation. There's voucher programs in places like Washington, D.C. that have greatly increased graduation rates, and also in places like Louisiana that have reduced racial segregation. So vouchers have been very successful in offering an alternative in schooling in areas where gangs are prevalent, where parents hope to have options available to them, giving them the tax dollars that would normally be used for the public government schools to pay for their child's education as they see best benefit.
So when we think about school choice, there are a couple things that come to mind that people talk about with regard to competition. Like competition is beneficial, not just in terms of the market, but also the government schools, I understand, benefit from this competition.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look across the board about what standards and challenges the different options in that particular area, in your particular area, motivate the student literacy rates, for instance. I mean, currently, if we look at Virginia, their student literacy rates are at their lowest in 15 years,
Wow.
with just 40% of fourth grade students considered proficient in reading.
Why do you think,
So
let me stop you there for a second, Melanie. Like, why do you think that is? How come it's dropped off so much?
I think a lot of that has to do with such an influx in government schools being the only competition out there. People don't have the resources, and especially in the climate especially in the climate that we're in, they don't have those resources and options available to them to offer their children something else that would be more competitive. And plus, you know, you look at what public government schools are doing. They teach to the test. That's the environment that they provide. So you're really looking at this, you know, it's coupled with this heavy influence of social policy in its curriculum. You know, it leaves no or very little individuality of expression, and it's just not encouraged in their curriculum.
Wow, I had no idea that the numbers were so low lately. So that really speaks to the standards.
Absolutely.
So Melanie, tell us what does this mean for teachers and educators that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it actually offers some competition there as well. So, you know, public government schools, since they offer that teach to the test curriculum, they're going to get more versatility in the options to teach actually what they want to teach, what they went to school to teach, what excites them as a teacher, instead of strict restrictions on a curriculum that's nearly impossible
Focusing
to fit
on
in.
the testing
Right.
versus an overall
Mhm.
education platform. They just focused on making sure their students pass their standardized testing. Because I remember some of my classes were like that. I haven't been in school in 20 years, but some of the classes did feel like that. And I've learned, you know, I'm part of Virginia Constitutional Conservatives, and I've learned more about our Constitution being part of this organization than I had in school.
That's a very good point. And I also read too, back to the teachers, that number one, it's very difficult for them to have like good salaries when there's this lack of competition. And then the other thing too is just basic work environment. Like when there's this lack of competition, there's only so much that they can do in terms of, you know, having a competitive salary, and, you know, when you have a monopoly on things like education, you don't have really too many other options in terms of what a good work environment looks like. So if you want to speak to that a little bit more.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to get too much in the weeds of it, but there's certainly more and more restrictions with the equity training, and I'm sure most parents have heard of what this equity training involves, but you know, it's new policies, more government influence in how teachers teach, what they can say, the parameters of what they can do during the school day, how to address or not address things. So it's become so complicated. It really has infringed the teacher's ability to freely teach how they want to teach. And that trickles down to our children. So now our children are feeling the effects of this very confined, you know, curricula and environment that just doesn't, you know, produce competitive, well-rounded, well-educated children, and especially since they're teaching to the lowest bar.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this voucher program. If there's ever legislation that passes school choice, how would this voucher program work?
Well, I think we have to talk a little bit about why it's not working.
Yeah.
So, I mean, currently the Dems have painted this picture about private schools, you know, they in homeschools that, you know, they're run by religious fanatics, right? So they're all nuts and they can't provide an adequate education, and that's just not true. This is not what studies show. It really, you know, there's no evidence to base that up. One of the major concerns is that without children being in the schools, they're going to lack the funding. For every child, they're getting tax dollars. For every child, they're getting funding. So the minute their numbers start to drop, they start to lose money. And the reason why that is good is because it drives that market. It drives for more competition. And that's something that actually has been well studied in DC, where it has increased the curriculum and the competitiveness of the schools. So
yeah, that's a really important point that you're making. One of my friends, actually, two of my friends have been talking with me directly about what the experience has been with their children lately. One of the school systems here in Northern Virginia actually sent home a letter that said, hey, if you're thinking of de-enrolling your child, or if you have, we're begging you, please don't do that because it's affecting our funding. And
Right.
so it's a little, you can see how that's a little self-serving. They're not talking about, we understand that you would do that because it's in the best interest of your family and your children, but we're worried about our funding, so please don't do that.
They don't care about the taxpayers. They're not
Yeah,
doing
and
anything
their
to make
children.
the taxpayers' life any better. And some parents had to completely change their lifestyle around with this $15,000 Zoom call classrooms that they have to make their kids take, and some
Right.
parents have to stay home.
right. I mean, it's so convoluted, and we trusted in these people to provide our kids with an education, and we're just not getting it. Especially with so many parents being home right now. We've really fallen into these unprecedented times. For the first time ever, we're seeing that the majority of Virginians are having to deal with having their kids at home with them. They have to be home. Many are having to leave their jobs.
Wow.
So we are losing so much in terms of the economy and in terms of the resources, because now there's not the income. So there's so much where now parents are also witnessing what their kids are getting in school as far as what kind of education they're getting, but they're also having to take a more active role. So while many parents have quit their jobs to help at home learning, a lot of them have quit so that they can homeschool their children. So
Wow, so you're saying and I've never really thought about this because we don't have children, but there's really this ripple effect here that a lot of people might not even be aware of is happening. So when the schools say we're not going to provide in-school teaching, you need to set up your child for at-home, learning. It really is having that very direct impact on families, not just, oh, I need to spend a couple hours getting my child set up, but also making sure they're paying attention to their lessons and all of that.
Right.
But it's taking me away from the work I'm supposed to be doing during the day.
You're still paying taxes.
And you're still paying the
And
taxes.
still paying
So
taxes.
you're still paying and you're
Absolutely.
getting zero.
No rebate check. Where's my rebate check?
Yeah, and that's the other thing that one
Yeah.
of my friends was saying is they did de-enroll their, I don't know if it's unenroll, de-enroll, they did
Yeah.
de-enroll their children from school because, exactly to your point, they were like, you know what, we're paying taxes, number one, we're not getting anything from it, and we know we can do a better job homeschooling based on the curricula that we've been seeing. And they are having zero qualms about it. They've met up with this amazing network of homeschoolers.
Yeah.
And they feel very confident in the education they're able to provide their children. So I can see how all of that is just kind of culminating right now with
Right.
this unprecedented time, like you're saying.
Right. And we're in the age of great innovation and great technology. So we have access to so many resources today as parents and I'm a mom of 4, so this was very concerning to me when I learned that my children, when I'm an essential employee, are going to have to stay home. So, but the benefit here to a lot of parents is we do have access to a lot of technology. There are rural parts of this area or this state where we don't have this access to technology, and that's a huge problem, and it's going to significantly impact those children and their success in this school year. So I think that's another good indication that we need change. We need options for our children.
Yeah, that's a great point. And now I understand that this has been a topic of discussion in the state legislature for a number of years. right? But where are we at today with that? Like, what is the current status, and what can people start doing if they want to begin to demand school choice?
So right now, we don't have any legislation that offers you real school choices. We don't have a real voucher program. Like I said before, you have the choice within your locality to go to a government school within your locality. Ultimately, what we need to do to take a step in the right direction is we need to have you get mad. We need you to have a call of action to help us get on this. We have a petition. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but right now your tax credits are the most valuable route to school choice in this state, and we need every single one of you to get on board with pushing this in our legislature. But regardless of the means, the goals of school choice should be clear. It's to increase parental control and choice. You know, we have to expand this educational market in Virginia, and a handful of legislators have introduced tax credit bills over the past few years, but we watch them die so quickly. We're not getting the support from you as Virginians to take a stand for the goals of school choice. So I would implore all of you to do that.
So Melanie, thank you so much for sharing all that. Really important that we get on board with this, need for school choice here in Virginia. And Jimmy, what are your final thoughts or questions for Melanie as we're wrapping up here?
Well, as you know, our followers, you vote with your taxes, and we definitely need you to sign our petition on our website to demand school choice. You tell these politicians that if they do not get that rolling and give our voters the option and the parents the option for school choice, that they will not be reelected.
Super important that people start to engage with their legislators. Let them know that you demand school choice. And we're also really excited about this new program that Melanie is rolling out, and we want you guys to get engaged with that. So Melanie, if you want to share a couple of words about your new project.
Yes, so it's still in its infancy, and that's why we really need you to sign the petition, because we need to hear your voice. But we have just got on board Virginians for Educational Freedom, and we're going to drive home how important that it is that your voice gets heard on these educational issues. When you sign up for this petition, we will send you updates as soon as they're available, and you'll be on top of the latest information.
Awesome. And I understand too that it's very much aligned with the same methodology that we use with Virginia Constitutional Conservatives.
Absolutely.
We're taking a confrontational approach, and like Jimmy said, we're going to let the legislators know that if you don't vote in our best interest, our family's best interest, and our children's best interest, we will vote you out. It's that simple. Okay, and with that, go to our website. It's virginiaconservatives.net. When you go under the petitions section, you will see the petition for school choice. Like Melanie and Jimmy said, please sign that, and that way we know that you're interested in getting updates as Melanie rolls out the new program. Also, we will provide that link in the show notes below. So with that, we thank you for joining us, and we thank you, Melanie, for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with us. Be sure to share this video with your friends and family, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you on the next episode of VCC Liberty Lounge.
But remember, if you're waiting for a politician to save you,
You've already lost.